the number 1 pick in the 2020 NBA draft goes to the Minnesota Timberwolves.
The Minnesota Timberwolves were awarded the first overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft, meaning that really they can pick whoever they want. And today I want to talk about some players that I think are in consideration for the first overall pick this year, and how I think they would fit for the team, the positives, the negatives, everything really about the prospect and their fit with Minnesota with that first pick. But before we do get into today's video, if you're new, like the NBA, WNBA, high school, college, really playing basketball in general, I really think that you would love this channel. So if you aren't already, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I release a video. I upload on a new daily basis. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so liking, subscribing, doing all of those things would mean a lot to me and would really help this channel. With that being said, let's get right into the video and look at these prospects and how they might fit as the first overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft. Now, the first player I want to talk about is LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball, to me, is the best player in this draft. He is the only player I have with a 98 grade, which is the highest for this draft class. And of course, the biggest thing with him is he's an elite playmaker. He is a really good passer. He passes well in the half court, passes well in transition, is a great pick and roll playmaker, can throw difficult passes, has elite vision, makes good decisions, which I think is the most underrated part of his playmaking asset, is the fact that he is a good decision maker, only at a 2.72 assist to turnover ratio in the NBL, and would have averaged more assists had he been playing on a better team. And the thing is, he can run an offense, he can be a great pick and roll and pick and pop partner with Karl-Anthony Towns. That could be a deadly combo just because of LaMelo's IQ. He has such a high IQ, his game is so advanced as far as playmaking goes for a player that is probably the youngest player in this draft. However, it isn't all perfect with LaMelo, and his fit isn't a good shooter. Isn't for a lack of effort, obviously. He is known to take shots, isn't really efficient as a scorer. That's a lot to do with his bad shot selection, which is really bad. Also, he's not a good defender, and doesn't fit well with D'Angelo Russell, who they just traded for, who is on a max deal, or a new max deal. And the thing is, the problem with the Timberwolves is their biggest thing they need to work on is their defense. LaMelo Ball does not solve that problem. And the thing is, you can have a great offense, but not have a great defense, and your team's not going to succeed that much. Look at the Atlanta Hawks. And look at the other teams throughout NBA history who have had great offenses, but their defenses are horrible. And also, his fit with D'Angelo Russell is questionable. Now, as far as roster fit goes, D'Angelo Russell easily could play the shooting guard spot. But I do think that the playing style between the two, it makes it a bit iffy, because I do feel like they're somewhat similar as far as their offensive weaknesses, as in both kind of struggle to draw contact, both kind of struggle to finish around the rim. Both have great touch, but, they don't have great finishing skills around the rim. And, I think that fit is questionable, especially defensively as well. That would be one of the worst defensive teams in the league already. So I think that they could go LaMelo Ball, because I do think that he is the best player in this draft, and you can never go wrong with taking the best player available with the first overall pick, and especially the player with the most upside in this draft. However, I do think that if you aren't drafting him to be a franchise player or a cornerstone, if you're drafting him to be a third option, it's not going to work. You need to draft him to be a first or second option. You need to draft him to be a primary playmaker, and I don't know if Minnesota would make him a primary playmaker if they drafted him. The second player I want to talk about as potential first overall pick is my number 2 player in this draft, and probably the favorite by most to be that first overall pick. And that player is Anthony Edwards, a shooting guard out of Georgia. He is a really good shot creator, has shown that he can be effective off the dribble while carrying an offense. Elite athlete with an amazing frame, 6'5", 225 pounds. That's bigger than most shooting guards in the NBA. He can be the number 2 scoring option next to Karl-Anthony Towns. However, like LaMelo Ball, he's not a great floor spacer. Now, I do think that this has a lot to do with the fact he had taken a lot of difficult shots, and that's why his efficiency was low. He had really had to carry that offense. He was really the only option. He was constantly getting double teamed, even triple teamed on plays. And also, he doesn't solve the defensive problems. He has the potential to be a really good defender because of his elite frame, strength, and athleticism. But at the same time, he really didn't show that at Georgia. Now, is that a case of him having to not really try in the end because he knows he has to carry the offense and put all his energy into carrying his team and scoring? Or is it just a problem in general? I don't know, only time will tell. What this probably means though is they don't keep Malik Beasley, who was really good for them when they traded for him. He was a 20-point per game scorer, good solid rebounder, solid playmaker, things like that, solid defender. And, you know, that probably means that Malik Beasley is gone if you take Anthony Edwards first overall. Also with Edwards, I do question his off-the-ball ability. I do think any player that can somewhat shoot a basketball can play off-ball, but only time will tell with that as well. And, you know, as far as fit goes on the roster, it could work because you have D'Angelo Russell at the 1, Anthony Edwards at the 2. You have, you know, probably Jarrett Culver at the 3. And then you have, I don't know at the 4, but I definitely have Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5 probably. So, you know, it could work as far as roster goes. I don't know about the fit because Anthony Edwards is, again, another really ball-dominant player. And, you know, how does he fit with D'Angelo Russell, who really isn't an off-the-ball kind of player? And, you know, how does he fit with, you know, Karl-Anthony Towns? He's not, Anthony Edwards is a solid playmaker, but he's not really a great playmaker at all. And, again, I just question the fit. I don't understand why he's the favorite. Like, I wouldn't be against it because he's a talented player and he can be a really good scorer for them right away. But how does he fit with the team is a real question mark to me. Like, at least with LaMelo, I know that he can fit well with a Karl-Anthony Towns as a pick and roll and pick and pop player. I don't know necessarily how Anthony Edwards will fit with this team, and that's why I'm kind of hesitant to say that he should go first overall to the Timberwolves. But, you know, it could happen, and it wouldn't be the worst thing, but it's not the pick that I would make. If you can guess the pattern already, the third player I'm going to talk about is my number 3 prospect in this draft, Onyeka Okongwu, the power forward / center out of USC, 6'9", 245 pounds. I think this is the best fit, and I think this is who I would take if I was the Timberwolves. If you saw my mock draft, you know that I have Okongwu going first overall. And the reason I have him going first overall is he is a versatile defender. He can defend 1 through 5. He's very much a Bam Adebayo kind of defender where he's kind of unswitchable. You know, you can't get a switch on him. Like, he's going to hold his own against guards he gets switched onto. And he can defend big men as well. And the thing is, he's a great pick and roll defender. And, you know, that's what you need in today's NBA. Because the NBA is a pick and roll league. And having guys who can defend the pick and roll are very valuable. He's also a great shot blocker as well. Doesn't need a scorer to have an impact on the game, which can be very valuable when you have 2 very high volume young players that you're building around. And the thing is, I really like his fit because he does solve the biggest problem Minnesota has, and that's defense. You know, he can come in right away and have an immediate impact on the defense. He can take some of that off Karl-Anthony Towns, who's not a good defender. And again, he won't take away from Cat and D'Lo on offense because he doesn't really need to score to be effective. He's very capable as a pick and roll scorer, catching lobs, things like that. But, you know, he doesn't need to score. Like, he can be capable of being a 15-plus point per game scorer, but he really can only score 0 points and still have a massive positive impact on your team. And he, again, fixes that defensive problem. However, again, his offense is really limited to pick and roll, lobs, dump offs, rim running, you know, things like that. So, he isn't really that great of an offensive player. I will say the fact that he's at 75% from the line on a decent volume is an encouraging sign that he can develop into a solid mid-range shooter that could develop into a 3-point shooter. That's all speculation, there's no guarantee those things happen, but having a big man who really isn't an offensive threat that's a good free throw shooter is a good sign for what he can be on offense. Now, again, I've heard the Bam Adebayo comparisons, I've made the Bam Adebayo comparisons. And while defensively, I think it's a really good comparison. Offensively, Okongwu isn't the playmaker that Bam is yet. He could develop into that, but I don't know, personally. And the thing is, like, yeah, he's great defensively. He has a chance to be like all defense, defensive player of the year kind of player on that end of the floor. And I think he's the best big man in this draft. But is he worth the first overall pick? It's a guy who's great defensively, but doesn't really give you an impact on offense. Like, is he that worth the first overall pick? Now, granted, it's not like he's a non-factor on offense, but very much when you have the first overall pick, you look for a guy that can somewhat contribute on offense as well. You know, you don't look for glue guys with the first pick. And I think Okongwu can be more than a glue guy, because I do think he can put up great defensive numbers and have such a great impact on that game. But, you know, is that worth the first pick? You know, and while I value Okongwu as a top 3 player in this draft, other people might not. And I'm not an NBA GM, so you don't know who they're going to pick and what they're going to do. But if I was picking first, I would take Okongwu. You know, there's a chance you can trade down and get him, but I wouldn't risk that. If you're trading down for a specific player, it's a giant risk. And if you want him, just take him. That's always been my mentality with that. Now, there are other options that are available other than the 3 guys I've mentioned, but these guys I would say you would take if you were to trade down. It's very possible that all the guys I mentioned do go first overall, even if I don't agree with it, but it's more than likely you would trade down for these guys. The first guy being Killian Hayes. He is a great pick and roll point guard, has a really good step back, things like that. Solid scorer, solid playmaker, actually a really good playmaker, solid defender. But really, he's just D'Angelo Russell with more defense. That's really all he is. And you say, oh, that's an upgrade. But is it enough of an upgrade to just replace him with D'Angelo Russell? I don't think so. Second player is Deni Avdija. This is actually a player that I considered that they might take if they were picking 3rd overall, which they were slated to do before the lottery. Kind of a jack of all trades kind of player. Can play a bit of defense, can pass a bit, can rebound, can score a bit. He can do everything like really well. He's kind of like Nick Batum, a guy that can put up like 16, 6 and 6, numbers like that. That's the kind of player I see him. Do you draft him with the first overall pick? No, because I don't think he has all-star potential. Obi Toppin has been a name that comes up, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I would not do that at all. He's not good defensively at all, and his offense isn't even close to being good enough to justify taking that bad of a defender, especially with the first overall pick, or even really in the lottery, in my opinion. I think he's vastly overrated as a prospect. Isaac Okoro is another name that I would consider. Definitely would trade down for him, would not take him first overall. He can be a really great impact player. He's the best perimeter defender in this draft to me. His offense reminds me a bit of what Jaylen Brown's was coming out of Cal, where he really doesn't know what he's doing on offense, but he can grow and develop. I do think he can be an immediate impact player, but I would trade down, like maybe even outside the top 5 if you want an Isaac Okoro. Devin Vassell is another guy, kind of in the same boat as Isaac Okoro is, and a guy I would trade probably out of the top 5 to get him. But I do feel like he is a really good shot creator that could be an immediate impact player right away. But he basically would give you the same contribution that Anthony Edwards does, but he's just not as good as Anthony Edwards, so there is questions there. Of course, other names are out there. Karl-Anthony, wouldn't consider him at all. I really like him as a prospect. I just don't think he would fit with Minnesota. Tyrese Maxey, would not consider him either, because again, I really like him as a prospect. I think he's a top 3 player in this class. I just don't like the fit with the team. Even though he's a really good defender, is he good enough a defender to make a massive impact? I don't know. And then you got James Wiseman. Obviously, it would just be a redundant pick. And it has nothing to do with my opinion on James Wiseman not even being a top 14 player in this class. It has everything to do with the fact that you're basically just taking another center. I would never play him at power forward. So I wouldn't take Wiseman either. But who do you think will go first overall? So one of the guys I mentioned in the trade down options, is it one of the 3 main guys that I said were options, were real candidates for that first pick? Let me know. I think it's Okongwu. Am I right? Am I wrong? Who do you think? Let me know that in the comment section below. That's the end of this video. Thank you for making it to this point. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, do all those things. Uploading on a new daily basis, giving you draft content giving you NBA content, high school, all types of things like that. So again, thank you for making it to this point, and have a nice day. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much. It means so much to me, guys. You guys don't understand. But again, thank you. Like and subscribe if you're new. Feel free to leave feedback in the comments section below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.